I need to tell someone what I did, and you're going to think I'm terrible, but there's something about watching someone walk away that nobody who hasn't experienced it can possibly understand. Everyone thinks Derek is the villain in this story. They think he's cold, cruel, heartless for what he did. But the truth is I'm the one who ruined everything, and here's what really happened. The worst part about what happened isn't that he left. It's what I did after he left, and it's something I've never told anyone because it changes everything about how people see me. Right now, everyone thinks I'm the victim. My friends bring me wine and tell me I deserve better. My mom sends me articles about narcissists. My coworkers give me sympathetic looks when I come in with puffy eyes, but if they knew what I've been doing for the past 3 months, they'd never look at me the same way again. I'm going to tell you everything, including the messages I've been sending him at 3 in the morning, and the fake social media accounts I created to keep tabs on him. And the part that makes me look worst. I'm saving that for the end because you need to understand how we got here first. You need to understand what it feels like to love someone so completely that you become convinced they can't exist without you, only to watch them do exactly that. It started 6 years ago at a party I almost didn't go to. I was 24, and living with 2 roommates in an apartment that always smelled like burnt popcorn. I'd just gotten out of a relationship with a guy who'd cheated on me with his CrossFit instructor, and I was in that phase where you tell everyone you're focusing on yourself. But really, you're just scared no one will ever want you again. Derek walked into that party like he owned the place. Not in an arrogant way, but in this confident, easy way that made everyone gravitate toward him. He had dark hair that was always slightly too long and this crooked smile that made you feel like you were in on some private joke. He was 28 and worked in marketing for a tech startup. Within an hour, we were sitting on the balcony talking about our worst first dates and our favorite conspiracy theories. He kissed me that night with his hand on the back of my neck, and I remember thinking this is it. This is the person I've been waiting for, and for the first year I was right. Derek was everything I'd wanted. He remembered small things I'd mentioned in passing. He'd show up at my apartment with my favorite takeout when I'd had a bad day. He introduced me to his friends, his family, his whole life. His mom loved me. His sister loved me. Everyone loved us together. But here's what I didn't realize then. What I couldn't see because I was so wrapped up in the fairy tale, I was already starting to need him in a way that wasn't healthy. I just thought it was love. The first time I said, "You'll never leave me," was about 8 months in. We were lying in bed on a Sunday morning, and he just brought me coffee exactly how I liked it. He was scrolling through his phone, and I saw a notification from a girl named Ashley. Just a normal message about some work thing, but I felt this sudden spike of panic. "Who's Ashley?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "She works in our sales department." "Why?" "Just wondering." I sipped my coffee. "You'll never leave me, right?" He looked at me with this confused smile. "Where is this coming from?" "Nowhere, I just want to hear you say it." He kissed my forehead. "I'm not going anywhere, Jess." But I made him say it. I needed to hear the exact words. "Say you'll never leave me." "I'll never leave you." He was smiling, but there was something in his eyes that I didn't recognize then. A flicker of something that might have been concern. I said it became our thing. Every time I felt insecure, every time I needed reassurance, I'd make him promise. After arguments, before he went on work trips, when he went out with friends without me. "You'll never leave me, right?" And he'd always say it back. But I could tell it was starting to bother him. The words came slower. His voice had less conviction. By year 2, when I'd ask, he'd sigh first. A tiny, almost imperceptible sigh that said, "Here we go again." I told myself I was just being loving, that I was expressing how much he meant to me. But really, I was already building a cage around him, and I was too blind to see it. Things got worse after we moved in together in year 3. It was a nice 1-bedroom in a decent neighborhood, the kind of place that felt like we were real adults with real lives. I thought living together would make me feel more secure. Instead, it amplified everything. Now I could see exactly when he came home, who he talked to, what he was doing every minute he was there. I started checking his phone when he was in the shower. I told myself I wasn't snooping, just looking. I never found anything bad, but I kept looking anyway, convinced that one day I would. There was always some girl's name I didn't recognize, some inside joke I wasn't part of, some piece of his life that existed outside of me. "Why did Melissa send you a meme about the office?" I asked him one night while we were making dinner. He looked up from the cutting board. "She probably just thought it was funny. She sends stuff to our whole team." "But why would she think of you specifically?" "Jess, it's a meme. It doesn't mean anything." "I'm just asking a question." The worst part is I could see myself doing it. I could hear the edge in my voice, see the exhaustion building in his face, but I couldn't stop. It was like watching yourself in a dream, powerless to change what you're doing. He started staying late at work more often. When I asked why, he said they were launching a new product. When I asked if I could meet him for lunch sometime, he said his schedule was packed. When I suggested he work from home more, he said he needed to be in the office. Looking back, I can see he was creating distance. But at the time I just saw him slipping away and it made me hold on tighter. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, his company announced a team-building weekend in the mountains. 3 days, 2 nights, all expenses paid. Spouses and partners weren't invited. I don't think you should go, I told him. He was packing his bag on the bed. Jess, it's a work thing, I have to go. No you don't, you could say you're sick. I'm not going to lie to my boss because you're feeling insecure. That word, insecure, it hit me like a slap. I'm not insecure, I just don't understand why partners aren't invited. What are you guys doing up there that partners can't see? He stopped packing and looked at me, really looked at me. Do you hear yourself? Do you hear how you sound? How do I sound? Like you don't trust me, like you think I'm going to cheat on you the second I'm out of your sight. That's not what I think. Then what is it? Because I can't keep having this same conversation every time I leave the apartment without you. I felt tears starting. The tears always worked. They'd always made him soften, apologize, pull me close and promise everything would be okay. I just love you so much, I said. I can't lose you, you'll never leave me, right? But this time, he didn't soften. He just looked at me with something that might have been pity. Jess, this isn't healthy. The way you need me to constantly reassure you, the way you question everything I do, this isn't what love is supposed to feel like. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe we should talk to someone, like a couples counselor or something. I should have said yes. God, I should have said yes. But instead I heard myself say, you want to leave me, that's what this is about. That's not what I said. But it's what you meant, you're looking for a way out. He picked up his bag. I'm going to this work trip. When I get back, we're going to have a serious conversation about this relationship and what we both need from it. Okay? I didn't answer. I just watched him walk out the door, and I spent the entire weekend cyberstalking everyone from his office who'd posted anything about the trip. I created a fake Instagram account so I could see the posts from private accounts. I scrolled through every photo, analyzing every background, looking for him, trying to see who he was standing near, who he was talking to. There was one photo where he was laughing with Melissa, the girl who'd sent the meme, just laughing. That's all it was. But I stared at that photo for probably an hour, zooming in on their faces, the space between their bodies, trying to read meaning into pixels. When he came home Sunday night, I was ready. I'd rehearsed what I was going to say, how I was going to be calm and rational and show him I wasn't insecure, I was just invested in our relationship. How was the trip? I asked. It was fine. Good bonding with the team. He set his bag down. Did you have fun with Melissa? His whole body tensed. What? I saw the photos, you two looked pretty cozy. Jess, please tell me you didn't spend the entire weekend stalking social media. I wasn't stalking, I was just looking at what people posted publicly. What people posted publicly? You don't even follow most of my coworkers. I felt my face get hot. I might have looked at a few accounts. He sat down on the couch and put his head in his hands. When he looked up, his eyes were different. Harder. I can't do this anymore. Those 5 words. I can still hear exactly how he said them. The flatness in his voice, the finality. Can't do what? But I knew exactly what he meant. This, us. The constant suspicion, the constant need for reassurance, the way you monitor everything I do. I feel like I'm suffocating, Jess. I can't breathe in this relationship anymore. I'll stop, I said immediately. I'll stop checking your phone, I'll stop asking about other women, I'll give you space, I promise. You've promised before, it never lasts, and the thing is I don't think you can stop, I think you need something I can't give you. I was crying for real now, not the manipulative tears but the kind that come from somewhere deep and terrified. Please don't do this, please, I love you, you're everything to me. That's the problem, Jess, I'm everything to you. You don't have anything else. Your whole life revolves around me and it's not healthy for either of us. That's not true, I have friends, I have work. When's the last time you saw your friends without me? When's the last time you did anything just for yourself? I couldn't answer because he was right. Somewhere along the way, I'd made him my entire world. My friends had stopped inviting me places because I always brought him or talked about him or left early to get back to him. My hobbies had fallen away, everything I did with him or because of him. I'll change, I said. I'll be better, just don't leave me, you promised you'd never leave me. He stood up. I promised a lot of things, but I can't keep a promise that's killing me to keep. Where are you going? To stay with Mike for a while, I need space to think. No, I grabbed his arm, actually grabbed him. You can't leave. You don't get to just walk away from 6 years. He pulled his arm free, gently but firmly. I'm not walking away from 6 years. I'm walking away from something that stopped being healthy a long time ago. I'm sorry, Jess, I really am. And then he left. He packed a bag and he walked out, and I stood in our apartment completely alone. Everyone online thought I was fine, but privately I was unraveling. I called him 23 times that first night. 23. He answered on the last call and said, Jess, please stop. I need time to think. I'll call you when I'm ready to talk. I texted him every hour. Apologies, promises, memories of good times we'd had. I sent him old photos of us. I sent him the playlist he'd made me for our first anniversary. I sent him paragraphs about how I'd change, how I'd be different, how we could make this work. He didn't respond to any of it. After 3 days, he sent one message. I think we should take a real break. No contact for at least 2 weeks. I need time to figure out what I want, and you need time to work on yourself. Please respect this. I didn't respect it. How could I? 2 weeks might as well have been 2 years. I kept texting. I sent emails when he blocked my number. I showed up at his office. That was humiliating. His receptionist called him down to the lobby and he came out looking mortified. Jess, you can't be here. I just need to talk to you. 5 minutes. No, I asked for space. I asked for one thing and you can't even give me that. Because it's insane. We don't need space. We need to work on this together. People were staring. His coworkers walking by, seeing me crying in his office lobby like some unstable ex-girlfriend, which I guess is exactly what I was becoming. Go home, he said quietly. Please, you're embarrassing yourself. That should have been my rock bottom. That should have been the moment I stopped and looked at myself and realized what I was doing. But it wasn't. I created more fake accounts. I followed his friends, his sister, his mom. I needed to know what he was doing, who he was with, whether he was moving on. I told myself I just needed information to plan my next move, to figure out how to win him back. But really, I was addicted to the pain of watching his life continue without me. His sister posted a photo of a group dinner. He was there, smiling, actually smiling, like he wasn't devastated. Like he wasn't missing me at all. That's when I realized something that made me feel like I was falling. He was fine. He was actually fine without me. All those years of telling him he'd never leave me, of making him promise he needed me as much as I needed him, and here he was, 3 weeks later, having dinner with friends and smiling. I thought I was fixing things, but really I was confirming everything he'd said about me. Every desperate text, every show up at his workplace, every fake account proved his point. I wasn't being loving, I was being obsessive. My best friend Kayla came over one night and found me on my 6th glass of wine, scrolling through photos from his sister's account. Jess, she said carefully, you need to stop this. I just need to know if he's seeing someone. Even if he is, what difference does it make? You can't force someone to be with you. He loves me. I know he still loves me. He's just confused right now. She took my phone out of my hand. Listen to me, you're spiraling. You haven't showered in 3 days. You called in sick to work twice this week. You're not eating. This isn't love, babe. This is obsession. You don't understand. Derek and I are meant to be together. Everyone knows that. His mom even said, his mom isn't in this relationship. You and Derek were, and he's telling you he needs space. I can't give him space. What if he forgets about me? What if he meets someone else? Then that's his choice. You have to let people make their own choices, even if those choices hurt you. But I couldn't let him make that choice. I wasn't ready to accept that he could choose a life without me in it. The next day I did something I'm still ashamed of. I called his mom. Hi, Patricia, it's Jess. Oh, Jess, honey. Her voice was warm but careful. How are you holding up? I'm okay. Well, not really, I know Derek's staying with Mike, and I was wondering if you talked to him, if he's mentioned anything about us. There was a pause. Sweetheart, I don't think I should be in the middle of this. I'm not asking you to be in the middle, I just want to know if he seems happy, if he's doing okay. He's processing, you both are, these things take time. But does he miss me? Has he said anything about missing me? Another pause, longer this time. Jess, honey, I think you should talk to Derek about this. Not me? He won't talk to me. He asked for space and now he won't answer any of my calls or texts. Maybe that's your answer then. Those words hit me hard. Maybe that's your answer then. His own mother was telling me to let him go. But we're so good together, I said, and I could hear the desperation in my voice. You always said we were perfect for each other. I said you seemed happy. But Jess, if Derek needs time to himself, you have to respect that. Calling me, calling his friends, showing up at his work. That's not going to make him want to come back. Did he tell you I showed up at his work? He told me he's worried about you. And honestly, from this conversation, I'm a bit worried too. We hung up shortly after and I sat there holding my phone, realizing that I'd burned another bridge. Derek's mom, who'd always been so warm to me, now thought I was unhinged, because I was acting unhinged. Week 6 was when I hit actual rock bottom. I drove to Mike's apartment at midnight. I'd had half a bottle of wine and I convinced myself that if I could just see Derek, just talk to him face to face, I could make him understand. I knocked on the door. Mike answered, looking absolutely done with me. "Jess, what are you doing here? I need to see Derek." "He doesn't want to see you. Please, 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking." Mike sighed and called back into the apartment. "Derek, she's here again." Again, like I'd done this before. I had done this before, twice. This was my third time showing up at Mike's place. Derek came to the door in sweatpants and a t-shirt. He looked tired, not heartbroken tired, just exhausted tired, exhausted by me. "Jess, you need to go home. I miss you so much I can't breathe. Please just come home and we can talk about this." "We're not going to talk about this, not like this, not with you showing up drunk at midnight." "I'm not drunk. I can smell the wine from here." "Mike, can you call her an Uber? Don't treat me like I'm some crazy person you need to manage." My voice was too loud. People in neighboring apartments probably heard. "I'm the person who loved you for 6 years. I'm the person who stood by you through everything. You don't get to just throw that away." "I'm not throwing anything away. I'm making a choice to leave a relationship that wasn't working. It was working fine until you decided to sabotage it." He looked at me with something I'd never seen before in his eyes. Not anger, not frustration. Pity. "Jess, please, get some help, talk to someone, work on yourself, but leave me alone." He closed the door. Actually closed the door in my face while I stood there crying in a hallway that smelled like Thai food and cleaning products. Mike came out a minute later and walked me down to the Uber he'd called. He didn't say anything, just made sure I got in the car safely. Even Derek's best friend was treating me like I was fragile and pathetic. The next morning, hungover and humiliated, I finally called a therapist. Not because I wanted to, but because I realized I was becoming someone I didn't recognize. Someone scary. Dr. Morrison was in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense way of talking. In our first session, I spent 45 minutes explaining how Derek had abandoned me, how he'd broken his promises, how I was just trying to save our relationship. When I finished, she asked me one question: "What were you getting from this relationship?" "What do you mean?" "You've told me a lot about what Derek wasn't giving you. The reassurance you needed, the security you wanted. But what were you bringing to the relationship? What was Derek getting from being with you?" I couldn't answer. I sat there for a full minute, trying to think of something, and I realized I had no idea. For years, I'd been so focused on what I needed from him that I'd never stopped to think about what he needed from me. "I loved him," I finally said. "Love is a feeling. I'm asking about actions. What did you do that made his life better?" The honest answer was nothing. At least not in the last few years. I'd stopped being a partner and become a burden. I'd stopped adding to his life and started draining from it. Over the next few weeks in therapy, I started to unpack why I was the way I was. My dad had left when I was 12. Just packed up one day and moved to Arizona with his secretary. My mom had fallen apart, and I'd spent my teenage years terrified of abandonment, convinced that everyone I loved would eventually leave. So when I met Derek, I didn't just love him. I made him responsible for healing that childhood wound. I made him promise he'd never leave because I needed to believe that someone finally would stay. But here's the thing I learned: you can't make someone stay by extracting promises. You can't build security on top of fear. And you can't love someone in a healthy way when you're trying to control them. Dr. Morrison asked me to do something that felt impossible: stop all contact with Derek. Delete his number. Block his social media. Remove every way I had of monitoring his life. But what if he tries to reach out and I miss it? If he wants to reach out, he'll find a way, but you need to release your grip on this outcome. You need to focus on yourself for the first time in years. I did it. On a Saturday morning, alone in my apartment, I went through and blocked everything. His number, his social media, his friends' and family's accounts. I deleted the fake accounts I'd created. I removed every digital tentacle I'd wrapped around his life. It felt like jumping off a cliff. The first week was hell. I had panic attacks. I couldn't sleep. I'd reach for my phone 100 times a day, forgetting that I couldn't check on him anymore. The not knowing was torture. What was he doing? Who was he with? Was he thinking about me? But slowly, very slowly, something started to shift. Without the constant feed of information about Derek's life, I had to sit with my own feelings. I had to face the emptiness I'd been filling with obsession. I started hanging out with Kayla again. Just the two of us, no talk of Derek unless I brought it up, which she gently discouraged. I picked up painting, something I'd loved in college but abandoned because Derek wasn't into art. I went to my therapy appointments and actually did the homework Dr. Morrison assigned. And here's what I discovered: I didn't know who I was without Derek. I'd spent 6 years molding myself around another person, and when he left, I realized I was hollow. I had no idea what I liked, what I wanted, what made me happy outside of him. It was terrifying and liberating at the same time. 3 months after Derek left, I was starting to feel like maybe I'd be okay. Not great, not happy, but okay. I'd stopped crying every day. I'd stopped having the fantasy conversations in my head where he came back and we got back together. I was starting to accept that it was really over. And then I ran into him at a coffee shop. I saw him before he saw me. He was standing in line with a woman. She was pretty in a natural way, with curly hair and an easy laugh. They were talking closely, comfortably, the way people do when they know each other well. My heart stopped. Actually stopped. Everything Dr. Morrison and I had worked on, all the progress I'd made, evaporated in an instant. He was with someone. He'd moved on. He looked up and saw me. His face did this complicated thing where surprise and concern and something like dread all flashed across it in a second. "Jess," he said. "Hi," my voice sounded strangled. "How are you?" "Good, fine, great actually." I was lying, obviously lying. "I'm okay." He glanced at the woman next to him. "This is Rachel, we work together. Rachel, this is Jess." "Nice to meet you," Rachel said with a smile that seemed genuine. I wanted to ask if they were dating. I wanted to make a scene. I wanted to remind him of all our good times and make him regret everything. But instead I heard myself say, "Good to meet you too. I actually have to run. Take care, Derek," and I left. I walked out of that coffee shop and made it to my car before I started sobbing. I didn't call him, I didn't text him. I didn't try to find Rachel on social media to see if they were together. I went home, called Dr. Morrison's emergency line, and talked through what had happened. "I'm proud of you," she said. "For what? For falling apart. For not acting on the falling apart, for feeling your feelings and not trying to control the situation. But it broke something in me, seeing him with someone else. All the work I'd done felt meaningless because the outcome was the same. He'd left me. He was fine, and I was still devastated. That night, alone and spiraling, I did the thing I've never told anyone about. The thing I'm most ashamed of. I unblocked his number. And I sent him a message. Not just one message, dozens. Over the course of 3 hours, I sent him everything I'd been holding in. How much I missed him, how sorry I was, how I'd changed, how I'd been going to therapy, how I understood now what I'd done wrong, how we could make it work if he just gave me another chance. I begged, that's the word for it. I begged him to come back to me. The messages delivered but showed no read receipt. He'd either blocked me or was ignoring them. I don't know which is worse. At 3 in the morning I sent the last one. I said you'd never leave me. You promised, you said you'd never leave. That one showed as read. And a few minutes later he responded. "Jess, I'm going to say this as clearly and kindly as I can. What we had is over. It's been over for a long time, maybe longer than either of us realized. I hope you're doing the work with your therapist, I really do. But that work needs to be for you, not to get me back. I've moved on and you need to do the same. Please don't contact me again. I'm blocking this number after I send this. I wish you well truly, but I can't be part of your life anymore." And that was it. The final message. The final door closing. I sat on my bathroom floor and read it over and over until the words stopped making sense. He'd moved on. He was fine. He didn't love me anymore, if he even had at the end. The next day I told Dr. Morrison what I'd done. I expected her to be disappointed, but she just nodded. "Recovery isn't linear," she said. "You're going to have setbacks. The question is what you do after the setback. I feel like I'm never going to get over this. You won't get over it in the sense of forgetting it happened or stopping it from mattering, but you will get through it. You'll reach a place where it doesn't consume you anymore." "When?" She smiled sadly. "I can't give you a timeline. I can tell you it won't happen if you keep looking backward. You have to start looking forward." That was 4 months ago. I'm still in therapy. I'm still working on myself. I'm still learning who I am outside of that relationship. Some days are better than others. I've reconnected with friends. I've been on a few dates, though nothing serious. I've learned to sit with uncertainty without trying to control it. I've learned that loving someone doesn't give you the right to cage them, but I still think about him. God, I still think about him all the time. I wonder if he's happy with Rachel, if they're serious, if he ever thinks about me. I wonder if he tells her about me, about the crazy ex-girlfriend who couldn't let go. Sometimes I compose messages to him in my head that I'll never send. Apologies, explanations, updates on my life. I imagine running into him again and being cool and collected, showing him how much I've changed. In my fantasies, he realizes what he lost and wants me back. In my fantasies, I'm the one who gets to decide whether to give him a second chance. But those are just fantasies. The reality is he's gone, and he's not coming back, and I have to build a life that doesn't include him. The hardest thing I've had to accept is that I did this to myself. Derek didn't leave me because he was cruel or heartless. He left because I made it impossible for him to stay. I wrapped my hands around him so tightly that he had to fight to breathe. And when he finally broke free, I chased him, proving every fear he'd had about me. I said he'd never leave me, like I had some power over his choices, like my need was stronger than his autonomy. And when he proved me wrong, when he walked away despite my promises and pleading and bargaining, I couldn't accept it. I couldn't accept that someone I loved could choose not to love me back. I'm still learning to accept it now. Every day is a choice to focus on my own life instead of the life I lost. Every day is a choice not to check up on him, not to drive by places he might be, not to ask mutual acquaintances how he's doing. And here's the thing nobody tells you about being the person who messed everything up: you don't get closure. You don't get forgiveness. You don't get a final conversation where everything is resolved and you both move on peacefully. You just get to sit with what you did and try to be better. My friends have stopped bringing up Derek. They think I'm over it because I've stopped crying at brunch and posting sad songs on social media. They think I'm doing great because I'm going out again, working on my hobbies, seeing a therapist. Everyone online definitely thinks I'm fine. I post pictures of my paintings and my brunches with Kayla. I post inspiring quotes about growth and self-love. I get comments saying how strong I am, how resilient. If they could see the way I still sleep on my side of the bed, leaving his side empty. If they could see that I still have a box of his stuff in my closet that I can't bring myself to throw away or return. If they could see the drafts folder in my phone with hundreds of unsent messages to him. But they can't see any of that. Nobody can, because I've gotten good at performing recovery while still drowning in private. Dr. Morrison says this is normal. She says grief isn't linear, that healing doesn't mean forgetting, that you can make progress and still have moments of backsliding. She says I'm being too hard on myself, that self-compassion is part of the work. But how do you have compassion for yourself when you're the villain of your own story? When you know that the best thing that ever happened to you left because of who you are, because of your flaws and your fears and your inability to just be normal about love? I went on a date last week. His name was Tom, and he was nice, funny, successful, emotionally available. We had coffee, and he asked about my hobbies, my work, my life. Normal first date stuff. And all I could think was he's not Derek. That's the thing they don't tell you about losing someone because of your own actions. You don't just lose them. You lose the future you'd imagine with them. You lose the inside jokes and the shared history and the comfort of being known. You lose the person who remembered how you took your coffee and what you liked to watch when you were sad and the exact way to make you laugh when you were stressed. And you know you'll never get it back. Not with them, and maybe not with anyone, because how do you trust yourself to love someone new when you destroyed the last person who loved you? Tom asked me out again. I said yes because Dr. Morrison says I need to keep moving forward. But I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'll ever be ready. Sometimes I let myself imagine that Derek thinks about me too, that he wonders how I'm doing, whether I'm okay, if I've changed. I imagine him having doubts about Rachel, comparing her to me, realizing that what we had was special even if it was broken. But I know that's not reality. Reality is he's moved on. Reality is I'm a cautionary tale he probably tells his therapist about, if he even sees a therapist. Reality is I'm the ex-girlfriend who taught him what he doesn't want in a relationship. And maybe that's the real ending here, not redemption or reconciliation or even full recovery. Just acceptance. Accepting that I messed up, that I can't undo it, that I have to live with the consequences. I said he'd never leave me and I was wrong. I begged him to stay, and he left anyway. And now I'm here, 4 years after I met him at that party, learning how to be a person again. Learning how to love myself enough that I don't need someone else to promise they'll never leave. Because here's what I know now: the only person who will never leave me is me. And I have to learn to be okay with that. I'm not there yet, I'm still begging, just in different ways. Still hoping that somehow, someday, he'll realize I've changed and come back. Still checking my phone, hoping for a message that will never come. Still building my life around an absence instead of a presence. But I'm trying. God, I'm trying so hard. And maybe that's all I can do right now. Keep trying, keep working, keep moving forward even when I want to run backward. They say the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. I'm not indifferent yet. I don't know if I ever will be. Derek will always be the person I loved so much I suffocated him. The person who left because I couldn't let him breathe. The person who proved that love isn't enough if it comes wrapped in fear and control. And I'll always be the person who said, "You'll never leave me," like it was a spell that could bind someone to me forever. Like words were stronger than will. Like needing someone was the same as loving them. I can't stop begging. Not really. I've just learned to direct the begging inward. Begging myself to change. Begging myself to heal. Begging myself to become the kind of person who could love someone without drowning them. Maybe one day I'll get there. Maybe one day I'll be with someone new and realize I'm not constantly afraid they'll leave. Maybe one day I'll look back on Derek and feel grateful for what we had instead of devastated by what I lost. But today isn't that day. Today I'm still the woman who chased away the love of her life and can't quite forgive herself for it. Today I'm still begging, still hopping, still wondering if he ever thinks of me the way I think of him. And tomorrow will probably be the same.